Welcome to Mrs. Taylor's math class. If this is your first time in my classroom, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel and turn on that bell so that you will be notified when I post another video. Now let's begin class. Today's topic is FTCE General Knowledge Math Subtest, Competency 2, Knowledge of Geometry and Measurement. I will leave a link to the sample math test in the description box below. A building 51 feet casts a shadow 48 feet long. Simultaneously, a nearby statue casts a shadow of 16 feet. How tall is the statue? Before solving this problem, I need to draw two right triangles to represent the building and its shadow, and the statue and its shadow. The building is upright, so that's why you see from top to bottom is labeled 51. And the shadow is on the ground, so from left to right, that's why it is labeled 48. Now to the next right triangle, this is going to represent the statue and its shadow. So from left to right on the ground would represent the shadow of 16 feet, and from top to bottom will represent the statue, but we don't know the length of the statue or the height of the statue. So that's why we have the X there to represent the unknown length. Now I'm ready to set up my proportion. I'm going to write the ratios as object over shadow is equal to object over shadow. I have the building over shadow, which is 51 feet over 48 feet. I'm going to set that equal to the next ratio of the statue over its shadow, which is going to be X over 16. To solve this proportion, you would need to cross multiply. So 48 times X gets you 48X, and 51 times 16 gets you 816. Divide both sides by 48, and X is equal to 17. So the statue is 17 feet tall. A rectangular animal pen will be built using 200 meters of fencing. If one side of the rectangle is 60 meters, find the area of the pen. I'm going to start this problem out by drawing a rectangle to represent the animal pen that has a perimeter of 200 meters. The length is going to be 60 meters, so I will label that to the top and the bottom of the rectangle. And then the width is unknown, so I will label that with the variable X, but I'm going to put that on the left and the right of the rectangle. My first step will be to solve for X, or the missing side. So I have been given the perimeter, which perimeter means to add up all the sides around an object. So the formula is P equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Or you could just say length plus the width plus length plus the width. To set this problem up, I'm going to say 200 is equal to 2 times 60 plus 2x. Now for the next line, I have 200 is equal to 120 plus 2x. Then I'm going to subtract 120 from both sides of my equation. And then I have 80 is equal to 2x. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And now x is equal to 40. So my width is going to be 40 meters. Now my second step is to find the area of the pen or the rectangle. I'm going to redraw my rectangle and just label two of the sides, the length of 60 meters and the width of 40 meters. To find the area, it is length times the width, or in this case 60 times 40, which is going to get you 2,400 meters, or 2,400 meters squared, and that is your answer. Which of the following geometric figures must have perpendicular diagonals? Let's define the diagonals for each shape. For quadrilaterals, the diagonals intersect or cross each other. For a parallelogram, the diagonals bisect each other. For a rectangle, the diagonals are congruent and they bisect each other. For the rhombus, the diagonals are perpendicular. Select the geometric figure that possesses all of the following characteristics. Number 1, quadrilateral. Number 2, diagonals that bisect each other. And number 3, at least one right angle. For number 1, a quadrilateral is a four-sided figure, so we can eliminate answer choice D, triangle, because a triangle has three sides. So we are left with the rectangle, the rhombus, and the trapezoid. These figures have four sides. Characteristic number 2, diagonals that bisect each other. For a rhombus, the diagonals are perpendicular. For the trapezoid, those diagonals may be congruent or they may not be congruent, and they definitely do not bisect each other. And now we have characteristic number 3, at least one right angle. This is true for the rectangle because the rectangle has 4 right angles. Which of the following best describes the faces for the following figure? Before I go through the answer choices, I want to sketch out the picture a little more so that we can identify the faces. Now that I have sketched out the picture, I want to focus on the triangles first. According to the picture and the answer choices, I do have two triangles. The two triangles in the figure are isosceles right triangles. I know this because two of the angles are listed as 45 degrees. I know that three angles in a triangle will get me 180 degrees. So 45 plus 45 is 90. 180 minus 90 is going to get me 90. So I know I'm working with a right triangle. I also know that in an isosceles triangle, two of the sides are the same length. So that makes A equal to B. But what is an equilateral triangle? An equilateral triangle is a triangle where all three sides are the same length and all three angles have the same measure. So in an equilateral triangle, each one of the angles will equal 60 degrees. Now, knowing the difference between the two triangles, I can eliminate answer choice A and B. Now let's move on to the square. There's either one square in this picture or two squares in this picture. A square can be defined as having all sides congruent. Let's start with the back of the figure. We have two sides that are labeled A and two sides that are labeled B. We proved earlier that A was equal to B, so that means that all four sides are congruent, so this is a square. Let's look at the bottom part of this picture. All four sides are labeled A and marked congruent, so this is a square. So at this point, you can eliminate answer choice C, but let's find that one rectangle. The rectangle can be found in the front of the picture. One of the sides is labeled A and the other side is labeled C. That is your rectangle. Which of the following is the best estimate for the height of a kitchen refrigerator? This question involves the metric system and understanding what each metric can measure. So let me write out the metric system so that you'll know the order. Kilo, hecto, deca, units, deci, centi, and milli. Or you can use an acronym like Con Hot Dogs uses dead cow meat, or King Henry died under dirty cold mud. On the right hand side of the units are the smaller units, and on the left hand side of the units are the larger units. So let's go through each one of the answer choices. For answer choice A, millimeter is used to measure a seed. We use centimeter to measure something as long as a staple. For answer choice C, a meter is used to measure the width of a doorway. For answer choice D, a kilometer can represent a little more than a mile. Now that you have an example of what each metric can measure, it probably makes more sense that answer choice C is used to measure the height of a kitchen refrigerator. Which of the following is the best estimate for the height of a mountain? Just like in problem 12, you need to understand the metric system. Because we want to measure the height of a mountain, it makes more sense to use kilometers because we know we can use that to measure anything dealing with miles. How many square yards of carpet are needed to completely cover a rectangular floor that measures 15 feet by 9 feet? Before calculating the area of the rectangle, I need to convert my sides from feet to yards because my answer has to be in square yards. I know that 3 feet equals 1 yard. So now I need to determine what does 15 feet equal in yards. So I'm going to set up my proportion. 3 feet over 1 yard is equal to 15 feet over x. I'm going to cross multiply. 3 times x is 3x. 1 times 15 is 15. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And x is equal to 5 yards. So my 15 feet is now 5 yards. Now let's do the other side. Again, I know that 3 feet equals 1 yard, but 9 feet equals how many yards? So let's set up by proportion. 3 feet over 1 yard is equal to 9 feet over x. I'm going to cross multiply. 3 times x is 3x. 1 times 9 is 9. Divide both sides by 3, and x is equal to 3, or 3 yards, or my 9 feet is equal to 3 yards. Now that I have converted my feet to yards, I can now calculate the area of the rectangular floor. To calculate the area of a rectangle, it is area equals length times width, or in this case, 5 yards times 3 yards, and the area is going to be 15 square yards. A 3-foot wide wood deck will be built around a rectangular shaped pool that measures 15 feet by 30 feet. The resulting shape is also rectangular. If the lumber costs $10 per square yard, what is the cost of the wood for the deck? Before beginning the calculations, let's draw a picture of the entire scenario. We have our pool, and then we have our deck that is surrounding our pool. The cost of the lumber is based on square yards, so I need to convert my feet to yards. I know that 3 feet is equal to 1 yard, but what does 15 feet equal? So let's set up a proportion. We have 3 feet over 1 yard is equal to 15 feet over x. Cross multiply, 3x is equal to 15. Divide both sides by 3, and x is equal to 5, or 5 yards. So now our 15 feet is 5 yards. Now let's do the other side. Again, 3 feet is equal to 1 yard, but what does 30 feet equal? So I set up my proportion. 3 feet over 1 yard is equal to 30 feet over x. 3x is equal to 30. Divide both sides by 3, and so x is equal to 10 yards, or my 30 feet is equal to 10 yards. Now let's calculate the area of the pool. The pool is now going to be 10 yards by 5 yards, or length times width. So 10 times 5 will get me 50 square yards. Now let's calculate the total area, which includes the pool and the deck. The length of the entire area is going to be the length of the pool and then 1 yard on either side of the pool. So I have 10 yards, and then I could go 1 yard to the left and 1 yard to the right. So the length of the total area will be 12 yards. Now let's use the same concept to calculate the width of the total area. The width of the pool is 5 yards, but I can go 1 yard above and 1 yard below. So the width of the total area is 7 yards. Now we're ready to calculate the total area. 12 times 7 is going to get us 84, or 84 square yards. So we're almost done, but we have to figure out what is the area of the wood deck. In order to find the area of the wood deck, you take the total area minus the area of the pool. 84 minus 50 is going to get us 34 square yards. Then take your 34 square yards and multiply it by $10, and you're going to get $340 for the cost of the wood. A teacher covered the exterior of a rectangular prism-shaped box that measured 8 inches by 9 inches by 10 inches using one sheet of rectangular-shaped wrapping paper that measured 2 feet by 3 feet. There were no gaps or overlapping paper. How many square inches of wrapping paper were left over? This is a surface area problem. So the formula to calculate the surface area of a rectangular prism is 2 times the length and the width plus 2 times the length and the height plus 2 times the width and the height. So the length is 8 inches, the width is 9 inches, and the height will be 10 inches. Now we can calculate the surface area of the rectangular prism. 2 times 8 times 9 plus 2 times 8 times 10 plus 2 times 9 times 10. We get 144 plus 160 plus 180. Now our surface area for the rectangular prism is going to be 484 square inches. That's the amount of wrapping paper needed to cover the rectangular prism. Now let's calculate the area of the wrapping paper. But before we can do that, we need to convert our feet to inches. We have 3 feet and we have 2 feet. We know that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. That means that 2 feet is equal to 24 inches, and 3 feet is equal to 36 inches. Now we can calculate our area of the wrapping paper. A is equal to length times width, or 24 times 36, which is going to equal 864 square inches. To finish the problem, we take what's available minus what's needed to equal what's left over. 864 minus 484 is equal to 380 square inches. A building contractor needs to compute the volume of air contained in a building with a rectangular floor, as shown in the figure below. The building is 20 feet long, 4 yards wide, 9.5 feet high on 2 sides, and 15 feet high from the floor to the peak. What is the volume of air in the building in cubic feet? To calculate the volume of a prism, it is V equals B times H, and the capital B stands for the area of the base. The answer needs to be in cubic feet, so all of our units of measure need to be in feet. So let's convert the 4 yards to feet. So we know that 1 yard is equal to 3 feet, 2 yards is equal to 6 feet, 3 yards is equal to 9 feet, so 4 yards must equal 12 feet. The top portion of the building is a triangular prism, so the base is a triangle. So the area of the base is going to be equal to 1/2 times base times height. But what is the base of the triangle and what is the height of the triangle? The base of the triangle is going to equal 12 feet, but the height of the triangle is the difference between the 15 feet and the 9.5 feet. So the height will be 5.5 feet. We can now calculate the area of the base, which is 1/2 times 12 times 5.5, and that's going to get us 33 square feet. To get the volume of the triangular prism, it's going to be V equals the area of the base times the height. So the height of the triangular prism goes from the front of the building to the back of the building, which is going to be 20 feet. And the area of the base is 33 square feet. So you multiply those two quantities together and you get 660 cubic feet for the triangular prism portion of the building. Now let's calculate the volume of the rectangular prism, which is the bottom portion of the building. So we have our 12 by 20 by 9.5 feet. So V equals length times width times the height. Okay, but that L times the W is the area of the base, which is a rectangle. So we're going to say 12 times 20 times 9.5. That's going to get us 2,280 cubic feet. Our final part is to add both volumes together to get 2,940 cubic feet. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Class is dismissed.